First of all, obviously, like the previous speaker, I want to thank my colleague, Deputy Kelleher, for bringing forward this motion. I raised this issue myself by means of topical issue with the Minister for Health some 6 or 8 weeks ago, further to many representations from families in my constituency. As Deputy Kelleher has said, this is unfortunately a real crisis, and it's born out of a financial or accounting trick which has blown up in the face of the government. And it is unfortunately deplorable that the government would allow this crisis to develop, and thus targeting the sickest, the most vulnerable of older people in our society. And I'm puzzled and amused and amazed. Minister Varadkar was questioned both here and in the public domain about this issue, and he blames the budget cap. Who set the budget cap? Was it not the Minister and his government? Who's responsible for the budget cap? Is it not the Minister and his government? And who is accountable? The Minister and this government is accountable for the way in which they spend taxpayers' money, for the way in which they set caps across the board, for the way in which they deliver services to those in society. And he and this government can supplement the cap, the budget cap, and rectify the wrong now that it has been exposed. This government has tripled the waiting lists in 1 year, and with the figures to prove it. I'm sure you're well aware of them, by virtue of PQs that have been asked in recent times, where the range across various counties from the bottom one of 280%, where Limerick, Clare, North Tip and East Limerick, to the highest of 300% in many, including my own and in Laois. It is one of the greatest sins of this government, and the continuing procrastination by government must stop. And the simple economics that people must understand is that the government is spending more money by keeping elderly people in hospitals than it would cost to have them placed in nursing homes. And the government, it should be noted, this government has also made a conscious decision not to pay applicants from the date of the application, but rather from the date of approval, 14 to 16 weeks later. And if there's a wide acceptance amongst the general population that many people cannot afford property tax, that many people cannot afford impending water charges, what does this government think of those people whom are expected to fork out up to €14,000 over 12 to 14 to 15 weeks? I surveyed some nursing homes in my own county today: Crossett, in Shinrone, in Burr, in Banagher, Forban, Clara and Tullamore. And there are up to 30 beds available at present today, all awaiting fair deal applications, and most of which, those applicants are in acute hospital beds. It costs €750 a day for a hospital bed. It costs €750 a week for a nursing home bed. So the costs in my county per week to keep these people in hospital is €135,000, and over 15 weeks it's €2.125 million. If they were in nursing homes, the cost would be €675,000. So the wastage in my county from this scheme at present is €1.45 million, the majority of which I expect is attributable to the Tullamore Regional Hospital. And if the wastage, for example, was applied to the house adaptation grants in Offaly, of which I am aware of 70 people over and above the 30 I've already mentioned, whom are awaiting approval on this scheme and have been told it would take up to 5 years. If that money was used in that area at €15,000 each, which is the average application for that scheme, there'd be further savings of €15 million in my county of Offaly, because of the fact that they're being told by local authority and by association government, as I said, that they have to wait 5 years. And the costs associated with fair deal for them for those 5 years, by virtue of the fact that they can't adapt their homes, would be €15 million. That's the new politics that is prevalent in this country today. That's the greatest small country in the world in which to do business. Well, Taoiseach and Minister, the facts of the matter are very damning. You are overcrowding hospitals that you don't have to. You're penalising jobs in nursing homes. You're crippling families who cannot cope with the expectations that you have for them to pay that sort of money for those places. You're depriving the elderly a dignified, caring and fulfilled existence. And you're wantonly wasting taxpayers' funds by virtue of the examples I've shown to you in Offaly, for example. You're penalising quality nursing homes. You're removing the prospect of generating economic activity in communities by virtue of the house adaptation grants that I mentioned. And you're not allowing those that might have had the possibility of remaining in their homes and their communities the opportunities to do so. And they're all intertwined, and you can't get away from the obvious fact that that is. And any amount of some form of joined-up thinking would address those issues, but one is failing to do so, and rather, as I said, wantonly, and from a concerted and conscious effort, it appears that money is being wasted. As we stand here this evening, and as this motion has been put forward, and it had to be put forward, in order for people to realise what's happening across the country, there's no doubt that I am of the opinion, and it pains me to say it, and I'm sure it pains you to hear it, but this scheme has been discredited and demeaned. And it's time, now that you've been found out, that it's put right. And people should not be taken for fools anymore on this issue. And I'm very conscious, when I say that, of the explanation that's been offered, which is a very lazy one, that it's the budget cap's fault, without recognising the obvious. The government and your colleagues set the budget cap. The government and your colleagues are responsible for the budget cap. The government and your colleagues have an obligation to meet the demands of this scheme. And next time the Taoiseach wants to tell people throughout the world that this, as I said earlier, is the greatest small country in the world in which to do business, he better be conscious of the fact it's not the greatest small country in the world in which you can be allowed to grow old gracefully and have the services associated with that deprived from you in the absence of your family being able to do so. I commend the motion.